Just want to give you a quick update on my 4K editing rig that I was actually working on, trying to keep it as cheap as possible, just to be able to edit and render 4K footage. I never really got there with this. Just so you know, every attempt I made, it still ended up with the footage being really jagged and shaky and just not necessarily smooth like the 1080. So I think I've taken this as far as I can go with it. In addition to that, it did develop a couple of other issues. One being the heat, which I expected since I upgraded the i7 processor, but it gets pretty hot to the point where you can't put this in your lap if you're running on the high performance mode or the maximum performance mode and you're doing something that's GPU and CPU intensive. And then because of that, the excessive heat causes the CPU to throttle. So it kind of defeats the purpose of me actually putting the faster processor in there is now, because I've got all this heat that's building up and it can't escape, which is therefore slowing the processor down. I've done a lot of tests. I've actually looked at benchmarks when I was rendering and doing other tasks, and it just seems like I've reached a limit to the point where I've even checked how much RAM was being utilized with some of those tasks. It wasn't even using all of the RAM, but it was still maxing out the CPU. And I personally don't think that throwing more RAM at it is going to solve the problem. Plus the RAM is limited to DD3, and I believe you can go up to 2400 megahertz, and then that's it. So you can't even get DD4. And then I've developed another issue on the screen that when I played videos that were, I'm gonna look at this, but I'll probably put up a screenshot to show you what I'm talking about. When I played videos that were fast paced for the most part, and this really isn't. This is one of my videos from my channel where I'm just going to scroll the top or scroll or pan is what I should say. There's this banding that it actually gets at the very top where it's pixelated. So there's like a line that goes across the screen, and any fast action video that I play, it does that exact same thing. So yeah, and that's really, yeah, bugging me. So especially if you're using it for the sole purpose of making videos, it's kind of frustrating. I have troubleshot that particular item just to see if maybe I could sort it on my own, and truthfully I've done everything. I've isolated the screen, which by the way I updated the screen, or to say upgraded the screen when I first started this project, so screen's brand new, but I still double checked just to make sure that that wasn't an issue. Ruled it out. I've actually hooked this up to my television just to see if it did the exact same thing, and it actually does. So yeah, there's that. I've changed the NVIDIA settings, I've reloaded drivers, I've done all kinds of stuff, and it's still there. Honestly, at first I thought it was just a flash issue, or maybe just something with one of the web browsers that I was using. So I even tried to do different things that way and still didn't sort it. So yeah, there's that. But otherwise, it's been a pretty decent laptop. I mean, I've actually rendered and edited about 20 videos without fail. The rendering is all over the place because once it starts throttling, like if I put it on a dock, like I have the X250 over here, it gets even hotter. It has a difficult time trying to dissipate the heat. So my rendering times go down. Or I should say they go up, right? It takes a lot longer because the process is now throttling. So there's that. And then, like I said, as far as sitting in your lap, you're not doing that if you're doing something that takes a lot of processing power. But for the most part, I take those into consideration and I'm fine. And then the terabyte that I added SSD, that thing has been awesome. It's been so fast. I haven't even come close to filling it up yet. And even though I have a scratch disk that I usually put a lot of my additional footage on, most of the stuff that I've shot since I've actually started working on this, I just leave it on here. And it's awesome just to have access to that footage. But right now I'm in a crossroads with this system because I do know eventually I'm going to get into 4K as well as other tasks. And I need to have a system that's going to be able to perform those things. This system got me close, right? But now I need to do something that's going to actually get me there. And then, of course, plan for the future because eventually I do have cameras that are 4K. So eventually I will be shooting in 4K. Not to mention the fact that I'm interested in doing it right now just to see if I can downscale it, to see if that does something with the quality of some of my videos and being able to mess around with it. So yeah, like I said, I'm at a cross points with this. I think I'm at the end of, modifications to this particular laptop. What it ended up being is a laptop that I can play older titles on if I want a game. It actually is a great laptop to edit with. So 1080p, no issues. Like I said, the only thing that really slows down is the rendering. And the other thing I would add is if you're adding any kind of effects, at least in Cyberlink, I noticed that this struggles with that too. So like for instance, let's say if I want to do some LUTs, or if I want to do just some color presets or something like that, I can plug them in there. But if I want to play them back prior to rendering the video, it does not play back smoothly. And that's in 1080. I haven't even attempted it in 4K because what's the point? So, but that's one of those things where I really just think I've hit a limit. One option I did look at was possibly changing the GPU out. The I believe 5400 NVS that's in here. There were other processors that were offered in this laptop that I could find on eBay, but I just think the bang for the buck is not there, because those processors are still like old, like 2012 old when this thing was made, and the small amount of performance gain I'm gonna get, it's not gonna be worth what I'm gonna actually put into like buying one and then also putting it in, and then it's still not gonna be enough to allow this system to do what it is I think I needed to do. So, yeah, I think I'm done with it. But I will tell you, I'm going to keep it, once again, it does do well in most things that I've thrown at it. And then, like I said, it's still fairly fast. I mean, I look at this laptop and I look at some of the other laptops that I have. This definitely keeps up. It's actually faster than some of the ones that we have downstairs as well, by far. Like, this thing is, like, superior. So, and then as far as what I'm going to do next, that's just one of those things where I'm kicking around ideas, because I know that I need something that's going to be able to accomplish all those tasks that I talked about previously. But I also want something that I'm going to be able to change if I want to, if I want to upgrade it, if I want to open it up and tinker with it. So more than likely, that leads me right back to workstations in general. So maybe not the T series, but the P series. And then I know Lenovo's come out with a couple of X series. And then I've looked at like the Dells and the HPs as well. Now, keep in mind, I've had those devices before, and I always come back to the red nub, right? Because to me, by far, I think ThinkPads just get it right. The nub alone is far superior to every other track point that I've ever used. I don't even use the pad here. I disable it on every ThinkPad that I get because I love the nub. Then there's the keyboard, and the keyboard is fantastic. If you can find a laptop with a better keyboard than the ThinkPad, then you feel free to leave a comment, because I would love to go check that out. I started out as a typist, and I love typing. I'm fairly fast, and when I try to go to other laptops and type, it's not the same at all. And I would even say I prefer this keyboard to my actual keyboard that I have for my PC at my desk, just because it really is that good. And like I said, you should probably try it. That's the only way I can say it. Like, if I try to tell people like the virtues of this without them actually trying it, then they don't get it. So, but if it's that important to you, give it a try. It's definitely worth it. The keyboards can also be swapped out. So that was going to be one of the things that I almost thought about doing with this one. There's a different style of keyboard you can get for the T430, but honestly, I love this keyboard. I actually prefer this keyboard over the X250 keyboard. You have one with the chiclet style keys. This one, a little more compact. The keyboard, it's actually smaller, of course, because this is a smaller laptop. But this one, in my opinion, is definitely superior. And I think it's because I have the room too. But I've also been using this device longer, so just maybe because I have more reps with it, or something. So that's it. If you have any questions about this laptop, once again, I'll be holding on to her and using it for whatever, right? But otherwise, I'm going to be moving on. Just got to figure out what I'm going to move on to. When I do, I'll probably put up an update about that. And I think that's it. So that does it. Age of Fitz, signing out.